I am Jacob Gable.
And I am Jacob Wirtz.
And this is the Untapped Podcast.
What's going on, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome back to another episode of the Untapped Podcast, Season 2, Episode 29, dude. We are moving with Season 2 here. Yeah.
Big deal.
Yeah, we are moving, man. It feels good. Guys, if this is your first time joining us, we actually have 5 different formats of our show. First, you've got EX Fit episodes, okay? You got 2 certified personal trainers here. In those episodes, we cover everything to do with fitness, the gym, nutrition, diet, outdoor workouts, too. We love talking about those.
Yep.
Next, we have EX Mind episodes. In these ones, we cover everything to do with the mental side of things, okay? We talk about mindset. We talk a lot about our own anecdotal experiences with just different things we've overcome, the methods we've used, and we try to give you guys any tips that we can. Next, we have EX Gentleman episodes. These are fantastic, okay? This is where we go over everything to do with masculinity, okay? We especially are talking to you young males about how to become a strong male, what that means for you, but also what that means for those around you.
Yeah. Our final couple things to cover, guys. EX Current is our 4th format, which EX Current is anything that is going on currently in the world, which could be a current article, or it could be how history connects to the present time as well. Those are a lot of fun. Sometimes we get heated, guys. We like calling out bullshit as it goes. And then EXGuest is our final format. That one you guys can probably guess. It's an interview-style format. Fitness professionals, entrepreneurs, somebody that brings you value we sit down with. That is actually our format today. And our final thing after that to introduce is our producer, my brother, Mitchell Gable.
Hello, children.
Boom. All right, dude, what's going on?
Man,
what
it's been a good day. We got you up to HQ for the first time. No big deal.
So fired up
first
first form. Yeah.
I know, man. We had a sick workout. We used the jammer arms. Always fun. We
a little bit of power.
Smashed the legs a little bit too, and we ran over turf that we didn't know we weren't necessarily supposed to with the sled.
That did happen.
We were on a part of the turf that we did not know we were not supposed to use the sled on, but that's all
We're
right.
like, sorry, guys.
No big deal. But all right, guys, we've been hyping this one up for a little while. We are so excited to bring on Mr. Jeff LoVecchio. How you doing, brother?
Boys?
Yeah.
Let's go. Eat this microphone.
Jeff is very fired up. We'll definitely get into that
We'll dive
interaction
into that
today.
later. Yeah.
What's going on, brother? How you doing, man?
Nothing. I know exactly where you ran over the turf, right down the first form logo
Yes.
on the weight.
Yes.
Yeah. You got to read those. I got little signs.
I know.
Yeah,
We missed when we walked in. We were like, shit, sorry, guys.
Yeah. That's a newer rule, though. They didn't have that like a year ago or 2 years ago, even maybe. So.
They were saying it happened one time. It left some marks on the sled, and that's why they added the rules.
Yeah,
so,
man, fuck around up there, man. That's how
Dude, it's good. It's
how
good shit.
sexy is that gym, hey?
Oh,
dude, you just can't.
beautiful.
You can't not walk in there and have an immediate boner. Yeah, right? I mean, it is like
Literally,
swing this
yeah.
place.
It's like, oh
They've got like
my
a
gosh.
jumbotron over the
know.
turf, and it's just like how they take care of it, and it's their attention to detail. I was up there yesterday working out. So yeah, it's fresh in my mind. I love working out there. It's so pretty. And the jammer arms, you guys had fun on those?
So much fun.
Did you do
those are
like
awesome.
pushes? Did you snatches? Did you do like rotation?
We did
All 3 of those.
double,
Nice,
double push, and then we did, or like overhead push, I guess, kind of. And then we did snatch and then single arm.
Nice.
Yeah, so that was a lot of fun. Yeah,
Dude, so much fun.
It
So
is.
my next gym, I'll have a ton of things where I can have jammer arms.
That's exactly what we were talking about. We're like, dude, I can't wait because I feel like Jeff's thinking about this. That's literally what we
dude,
said.
I've
We're like,
wanted them forever. Just
Yeah.
my gym right now is too small to have anything like sticking out that far from the wall.
Right.
But my next gym will definitely have them.
Yeah.
No doubt.
Yeah, Sorenex is good stuff.
Yeah.
That's for sure.
Dope.
But all right, so guys, we're gonna run this guest episode a little bit different with how we have in the past. So we're actually gonna go through each of our other 4 formats, and we're gonna have a question for Jeff, which will obviously start a conversation for each of those formats. So first, let's hop right into it here. So our EX Fit question, Jeff, why did you want to start training athletes in the way that you do? And how did you find those methods and those styles? Because obviously it's a little bit unorthodox in ways.
Yeah, it's a great question. So like growing up, I started training when I was like 15 and a half was the first time I ever trained for like 2 weeks right before I moved to play hockey in Chicago. And I was always skinny growing up, like very, very skinny. My family used to rip on me for being skinny and like looked like, a bad joke. I'm not even gonna say it, but yeah, it used to rip on me. Used to rip on me. And so, I got into training because of hockey. And the older that I got, the stronger I got. I actually had one bad injury my first year at juniors. I was living in Omaha. I had my adductor tear off the bone from the origin.
Shit.
Yeah. And, team was cheap, didn't give me an MRI. So like they were basically like, well, you can train your upper body until you get healthy again. Like, what?
Because that's how that works.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
So
what?
this is even funnier. I trained upper body 93 straight days. Yeah,
Oh
93 straight days. I trained upper body.
Whoa.
We didn't, we had a strength coach, but like I was injured, so I was working out during practice. The rest of the team would work out after practice.
Right.
So I would just work out on my own, and I learned from like these two older guys who were injured. One of them was like a big role model to me because he was yacked, and he was our fighter, and so he was putting me through workouts. So like that was like who I really learned to like work out with from. And so that gave me the love for training, because when I came back after, 4 months, I was way more confident in the corners. I was a skinny little 17-year-old playing against a ton of 20-year-olds. And it was 2-line pass back then. So the game was more condensed. There was a lot more hitting. And when I came back after missing 4 months, I was way more confident in the battles, way stronger in the corners. I was able to play harder because I was just more confident, right? So then from then on, like right when I came back from then on, I was obsessed with off-ice training.
Nice.
And every year I saw my confidence levels grow on the ice, also off the ice in the world.
Sure.
Just like going to like high school parties or like, walking around in school. I just had more confidence in myself. Not that I was ever an unconfident person, but it gave me a lot more confidence to just be more of myself. And you know what I mean? And so like right after that year, starting that next year, my second year in juniors, my senior year of high school, I just like would win off ice testing everywhere I went from then on. Juniors, Division I college, in the NHL when I was in NHL camps, in the AHL, European Pro, everywhere I went, I won off ice testing.
Yeah.
But you said that your question was, why did you start training the way you do? So after my freshman year at Western Michigan University, I got invited to the Washington Capitals development camp in the summer.
Not a big deal at all.
Yeah, not a big deal.
Yeah, really. I was going to say.
So that's like where they have their draft picks from like 3 years ago, some of them 2 years ago, and then their draft picks from that draft.
Yeah.
Okay.
They hold these development camps right after the draft, and they'll invite, some teams will invite like 3, some will invite 5 free agents. So I was one of the free agent invites because I had a really good freshman year. And I'm crushing the testing. I don't know what my placing was, but I know it was like top 2 or 3. And I was probably about 190 pounds at the time. And I think I barbell bench press 275. I think it was like 7 times.
Oh my.
And a hockey player,
Yeah.
and
That's a hockey player. That's
like,
ridiculous.
benching really doesn't matter.
Sure.
True.
And I had the second highest bench. There was one meet from Ohio State who had a bigger bench than me, Sean something, defenseman.
Big dog.
Looked like a man child, like way, like he was probably like 215. I was like 190 doing it, right? So like strength to weight ratio, I was higher, but he won it. And so I go 275 7 times. I get off it, and Nicholas Backstrom goes right after me. 5th overall pick that year. I believe he won. Yeah, I believe he won Rookie of the Year like that next season right there in the NHL.
He's over 1,000 points now. In the
Dude,
NHL,
he's unbelievable.
Yeah,
One of the best players of like our era,
Yeah, right.
And he couldn't bench press 135. And I remember watching him, and there was so much hype. Like the whole camp, the media was just S-ing this guy's D. The entire camp. Nonstop, like all about like this guy's gonna be the next big thing. He's gonna be the guy who's gonna deliver Ovi the puck nonstop, which he has his whole career.
Right.
And so I crush a bench, I'm all happy, and I see him, and I'm like, an alarm went off in my head, and I was like, wait a minute. This guy's got this much hype. He's this good. He's the 5th overall pick. He's going to be in the NHL this year, and he can't bench the warm-up weight. And I was like, I don't know if I'm training right.
Right.
And before that, I'd won testing 3 years in a row, second year juniors, third year juniors, first year of college. And then I go to this camp. And so with how strong I was off the ice, it wasn't fully translating onto the ice. I'd go to hit guys, and even if I blew them up, I'd also be falling over. If guys are leaning on me, so I didn't feel as strong as my numbers in the gym were comparatively, right? And I'm like, what's going on? And their strength coach at the time was a guy by the name of Jack Blatherwick. He's like looked at in USA Hockey as like one of the fathers of USA Hockey strength and conditioning. He was the strength coach for the Miracle on Ice team, the 1980 Olympic team. And he said something to me that I say to everyone all the time since this day that I talked to him. I just followed him around all camp, asked him all the questions I could. And he said to me, if all of your training can be done in a phone booth, you're not training to be an athlete or a hockey player. And then I'm thinking about all of my training: back squat, barbell bench press, overhead barbell push press, hang clean, barbell snatch. Your feet are stuck in it still. Like
Right.
there's no movement, there's no variability. It's just always like this. And I was like, that makes so much sense.
Yeah.
So I started to play around with things a little bit in the gym. I started to get out of my comfort zone. I started learning more. I was an exercise science major. I started doing things a little bit differently because I you know, they named me the captain unanimously, the players and the coaches, after my freshman year.
That's awesome.
And my strength coach and I were very tight because everywhere I went, I'd pick the strength coach's brain. My thing is like always ask people questions, learn as much as I can. I can pick up something from everyone.
Sure.
And it was a female. She was an awesome strength coach, Jen Query. And she kind of let me do whatever I wanted in the gym after my freshman year. Like she was great with me and a couple other guys who like loved the gym.
Yeah.
It was kind of like, I want you to do these things that are on the workout, but also like whatever you want to do after that, like do whatever you want type of thing.
Nice.
So I started experimenting on myself. I got better and better. And then I signed with the Bruins after my junior year. And that's when I bought Mike Boyle's book called Advances in Functional Strength Training.
Yeah.
I probably told you both about it because everybody
I
asked
remember you
me,
mentioning it.
right? Everybody asked me like why, how, and I'm like, that book was
Boom.
like that was the moment where everything changed for me. I immediately changed my training and I saw immediate results of how I performed and felt on the ice and in the gym. My numbers all went up or stayed the same if I ever went back to like a traditional barbell bench or pull-ups or back squats or any traditional testing I had to do. And I wasn't doing them at all, 0 times.
Yeah.
And then I would do my type of unilateral training. I'd go to a test. I wouldn't even do it. I'd go into the test and I'd PR every year.
Jeez.
So immediately I was like, okay, like this works.
It
I
works.
believe in it. I
Right.
feel better. I'm performing better.
Right.
And so that's why my own personal training changed. And then that's been my philosophy ever since that
Right.
book.
And it translates so much to the ice now as well.
Yeah, exactly.
And it did for
That's
you and it
why,
does for your guys now as
for,
well.
For thousands of athletes over the
Yeah.
last 11 years.
Yeah.
You know what's crazy though, even for me, and again, this is kind of like it'll be a funny point you'll hear, but even for me, after joining your Train With Me team, with our, we
Free
played-
7-day trial.
What up?
Yep.
Free 7-day trial.
Free 7-day trial. Yeah.
Thanks, boys.
Yeah.
Linked in bio.
But even in like, so Mitch and I play in a men's league, and we play once a week, and it's actually pretty competitive, which is really fun. And because it keeps
Where at? What rank?
Usually at St. Peter's around the area, Recplex, and then always at Mills and or Kirkwood.
Are you in the
Those
same
3.
league as Nick Clements?
Maybe.
Dude, I think he plays in a league where he's doing that. He works at
Dude,
first
we met
for
him today.
We just met him
We
today.
literally met him
Dude,
today.
first of all, he's a fucking. Oh, sorry.
No, you're good. You're good.
We're only 12 minutes in. I said I wasn't gonna do it. Yeah, he's awesome.
Dude,
he's
he's
one of my
super cool
coaches
guy,
over
yeah.
there.
We
Yeah.
sit there and talk for
Yeah.
quite a
But
while,
I mean, even then, so I used to be like same thing. I was like 170. I think I told you this, Jeff. But like I was just skin and bone pretty much.
Right.
And now training on your program for the last 6 months to a year, give or take now, so to speak. I feel like I can't be moved off the puck.
Right.
Like anytime I go into a puck battle, I'm like, there's like a 95% chance I'm going to win this right now.
Right.
And it's insane. It's
Yeah.
like I'm a completely different player from it. And so
And how old
I
are
mean,
you now? And you're not like
I'm
you're playing
24.
men's league,
No,
right?
yeah.
You're not, that's not
Right.
even skating every day, which then you would even
Yes.
those effects would be amplified even more if you
Yes.
were skating every day too.
100%. Yeah.
Yeah.
100% different. So I'm like a living example of this.
Yeah, I love
100%.
that, man.
Yeah,
That's
it's
so
awesome, dude.
cool. And how much better does and don't let me lead you. If you don't, like, answer truly. How much
Sure.
better does your body feel? Like when you get out
Yes.
of bed and you wake up, like my back used to hurt all the time because like the stronger you are, the more you have to lift, right? And
Yep.
so like when you're putting 400 pounds on your back to back squatter,
Yep.
I think I cleaned in testing like 255 7 times my freshman year of college, right? And like, but they weren't always good lifts.
I know
Like they
exactly
were
what you're talking
ugly
about.
and like,
Yep.
but that was allowed. And even the good lifts, like my body would hurt when I would leave the gym. And it's like,
Yeah.
why? I think back, I'm like, why am I leaving the gym hurting? That
Yes.
is,
Right.
I'm
Yeah,
doing
yeah.
this to be better at hockey or normal people feel better in life. So like, yeah, okay, being sore, that's fine here and there, obviously, but like hurting. Like, what are you doing?
Yes.
Why are you doing that?
Right.
Like, there's no exercise that anyone has to do.
Right.
That's not a thing. Like, people always tell me, oh, I have to back squat. And I'm like, why?
I mean,
and they
right.
can't answer
do
it.
you have to? I
Yeah,
mean,
no, there's a million, and there's also a million ways to squat. squat. You can goblet squat. You can elevate your
Hatfield,
heels.
yeah.
You could Hatfield. You could rear foot elevated squat.
Right.
You could Bulgarian squat. You can do all these different
Suitcase,
variations.
yeah.
There's
Yep.
so many different variations
Yes.
of squats. You got to find the one that your body feels best with, and then also aids in your performance.
100%,
You know,
yeah.
and that's my
Right.
philosophy.
100%. Yeah. And I can definitely attest to that exact thing right there. I really don't, I mean, I haven't had back pain since I've been on your program.
Dude.
Ever. Haven't had
Yes.
Which for a
Yes.
guy at my height, I had back pain for so long from deadlifting and whatnot. And a guy at my
Yes.
height, it makes such a difference. I haven't had back pain since not even close.
And it's like when you
yeah.
think that way, it's like, why?
amazing.
Why was I doing that? Stuff?
And hey, and guess what? My numbers are going up.
Weird.
Yeah.
It's almost like thousands of people over the years have trained with me for a reason. Weird.
That's so odd.
Yeah.
So funny.
Why would they train with you if that's working? Yeah,
Oh,
it doesn't
man.
make sense.
That makes me so happy,
Yeah,
dude.
dude.
That's awesome. I
100%.
love to hear that.
It's
love
also,
to hear that.
It's also very comforting to hear that you use Michael Boyle's book, because at work where I train at Legacy, just down the road from you, that's who we base ours off of too.
Hell yeah, dude.
So
And
I
he's
haven't
a gold standard, man.
I haven't read it cover to cover, but
Yeah.
I go in there and read pieces and whatnot, and that's actually how we base our training off of too.
Awesome.
Dude, I
which is so
fucking
cool.
love that. I think
Yeah.
that every single person, no matter what their goals, can benefit greatly from making most of their training unilateral. And you train with me. We do trap bar deadlifts, and we do
Yeah,
we
dude,
do all these.
love
We do
trap bar
we do
deadlifts.
we do bilateral lifts too. But like, I think that if everybody at least threw some unilateral in, but like my philosophy off season for my hockey players, I'd probably say 65 to 75% unilateral, and then 30, 35, 25, whatever it is, bilateral.
Yeah.
I flip that for hockey players in season because they're doing unilateral movements all season. So I think
Yep,
fill up the
that
empty
makes sense.
buckets. That's a Mike Boyle term.
Yeah.
Because they're doing that, then we flip that. We do the inverse, and I go in season. It's probably like 65 bilateral and 35 unilateral, because it's less fatiguing for your central nervous system as well. It
Yep.
takes less energy expenditure as well. So I kind of flip that, but it's all about like, what does the client, what does the person need? What are their
Sure.
goals?
Sure.
What are the energy expenditures they have daily, weekly, monthly? What time of the season are they in? All those types of things
Right.
have to be factored in.
Right.
Yeah.
So
No, that's cool, man. That's very, very cool.
yeah.
All right, moving along here. EX Mind. So this will probably have you dive into your playing career a little bit more and your
Yeah.
professional career as well. But how did you've gone through a lot of concussions.
14, man.
And yeah,
Oh
yeah,
my
that's a lot.
Every time you say that number, I'm like, holy
They weren't
shit.
all as bad as my bad one, obviously. My bad
right.
one
But
was
still-
very
but
bad,
still,
but
yeah.
I had one very, very bad one, and then 3 that were like medium bad, I guess I would say, and the rest were more minor.
Yeah, yeah. So how did you build resilience, not only through the concussions, and that's more of the playing career part of the question, but also through your different relationships as well?
Yeah.
So that's more of a life question there. So kind of a
Yeah.
two part here.
It's a good question. I had to build resilience like in a lot of different things throughout my life, because I was never like the guy who it just came naturally to ever. When I was younger, there were seasons where I was nasty. Like my freshman year of high school, I was like really, really good. That's when I was like, like it was easy for me that year. I was a goal scorer.
Yep.
And then I go to juniors and bam, I'm the worst player on the team.
Yep.
Like by far, lost
Yeah.
my confidence, all that stuff. I had coaches up my ass every day, skating around, asking me to quit, because back then they couldn't cut you if you were in high school in the
okay.
USHL. And he'd literally skate around and be like, "You want to quit? You want to quit? Quit. Your hockey career's over. If you say you quit, you're gone. You're not playing again." And
Sounds
I
like
just,
buds.
dude,
Navy
it
SEALs.
was very. This guy was very, very intense. Very intense. Not a fan. I was a fan of looking back, like what that built me into.
Sure.
I think there's a different way to build that into people.
yeah.
But it was what it was, and I took the good out of it for sure. But so like I always had to do more. I always had to give more. I always had to care more.
Sounds
like,
familiar.
Yeah, but like I honestly I had to, or else I wouldn't have even made it past my first year of juniors, let alone play 3 years, then get a scholarship and play 3 years, and then sign in the NHL and then play 10 years pro. I wouldn't have done any of that. So every year, and then because I wasn't the best, there were years where I'd be streaky. I'd have 10 really good games and then 4 bad games, and then kind of going like this, and so always with like how I was trying to just always maximize my potential, I would always try and make those peaks and valleys turn more into like a level thing.
Sure.
And so like there's a lot of resiliency that you learn and you develop.
Yeah.
People shy away from hard times, or they don't put themselves out there to put themselves in a position to go through hard times. But reflecting back on everything that I've been through in my life thus far at 37 years old balls, loose skin, which is 5-year plan, don't die. I realize that like the more hard things that anyone does, and the more that you find a way to get through them, if you really care about whatever it is your goal, you start to build thicker skin. You start to build resiliency. You start to build coping skills. You start to build relationships of people you can lean on that will help you get out of those hard times, or mentors or anything like that. So for me, it's like always putting myself in uncomfortable situations. Yeah. That's something that I've always done, and I've always had to do. And because of what I've done in my hockey career, I've learned those things, and I've applied that resiliency mindset, skill, practices into the rest of my life. Yeah. Business, relationships, you know, I've been through a divorce. That was super hard. You know, like I'm not religious, but I'm somebody who my goal was to only be married once, you know? And I honestly, I looked down on like divorce. I was like, oh, you gave up, you know, it's kind of what I thought, but that was just me not having the wisdom of that. There are some people who get married and literally, like, if your life is way worse being married to somebody, well, you only live once. Why would you stay in that at a certain point? If you've done the work and you've tried and stuff like that, I think it does make more sense to part ways and learn from it, and then try and bring the things you learn from it into your next new relationship and be better, not do the same things over and over and over. So my hockey career and what I've been through in that has allowed me to build all this resiliency and mental toughness and all that stuff. And I try to apply that to everything else in my life. No, that's why I'm huge with youth sports and team sports. I think there's nothing wrong with individual sports, and that's great. But I think all young kids should be put into youth sports because of all the lessons that they'll learn. One of the main ones being resiliency. And we need parents to stop babying them, giving everybody a trophy, calling the coach. I don't care how young they are. Make them talk to the coach on their own behalf. Because, like, what if you get in trouble? They're at school. You're not going to be at school to have that you talk to the principal on their behalf or the teacher. Like, when you get into work, whether that's you start working a job at 16, 18, you're going to have to talk to your boss. You're going to have to be the one who, if you deserve a raise, go to the boss and ask for the raise. Mommy and daddy can't do that for you. And I think that foundation can be built through youth sports.
100%. I mean, I coach one of our 12U teams at the facility I work at, and that's why I tell people all the time, that they ask, what's your favorite part of coaching? And I said, it's not only the baseball side of things, because that's great. You know, I love that part, of course. Like, I'm a baseball guy, always have been, always will be. But the more important one is exactly what you're talking about, building those skills and being a part of a team, learning how to be a leader as part of a team. And just, I have the opportunity to impact these kids' lives forever. And that's independent of baseball.
Hell yeah,
you know?
Hell
and then in the gym, it's the same thing. I was literally talking to our other trainers just the other day, and I said, I believe that our main purpose in here, in this gym, most of our clients are high schoolers, 8th grade and up, I'll say, and primarily baseball players. We actually do have a hockey team in there, and soccer, football, basketball anyway, but mostly baseball. But I said, I think one of our main purposes, if not the main purpose, is as far as fitness and living a healthy lifestyle, we can build that foundation right now while they are 14, 15, 16 and older. And if we do our job good enough, it'll have a lasting effect for the rest of their lives.
That's powerful, man.
It is. And like, that's where I get my pride and my fulfillment from the jobs that I do have.
I love that,
dude. And that's what makes me love it every day, honestly.
I love that. And something else, like, I constantly, like, when somebody's going through a hard time, because, like, I think that I have so much success, and I've had so much success in coaching in the gym I've been doing it for probably 15 years, because when I started it, it was pros were just paying to work out with me. I wasn't even like actively coaching clients. Like, pros were like, can I just pay to work out with you? And I said, yeah. So I did that for 2 pros, and then 2 or 3 pros, and then 1 Division I guy who then turned into a pro, and he's had a great career. He's still playing. So I started with that, and then I opened up my business after my 3rd year pro, after another concussion, and it went from there. But I think I've been able to help so many players, maximize their potential and stuff, is because I've always, like, used the metaphor and said it to them like, well, what are you going to do later in life when this happens? Like, oh, your coach doesn't like you right now. What are you going to do, if it's a kid, when you're at your job and your boss says this or that, constantly reminding them like that this right now is hard and stuff, but you're going to go through this the rest of your life.
Right.
So don't give up now. Like, let's talk it out. Think about the steps. How can you do this? How can you be proactive? All these things. And I constantly teach those metaphors like right in the moment too, about how this is going to help them later in life.
Right.
So,
well, and it's also developing the skill of critical thinking.
Yeah.
Because the amount of kids that don't have that now it's astounding, and it's frustrating. Even if they just have a question about a movement that may literally have a video attached to it, which I would rather them come ask us if they have a question about the movement than just look it up on YouTube or something. But it'll say, like, this literally happened the other day. Single leg RDL. And I said, okay, let's think through this. Like, we do this all the time. I have seen you do this. I have coached and cued you on this. What do you think this is? I was like, walk me through it. Not being rude or being a dick or anything like that, but I was like,
this is real coaching.
Yes,
exactly.
yes,
not
like,
I'm telling you what to do.
Exactly.
Let's go.
Right.
Let's
think
see
through it.
Yeah.
And he was like, well, it was just written a little bit different. I said, okay, that's fine. It was written slightly different than how it might have normally been, but let's walk through it. And like, obviously he got to it because that's a very common movement for our programs, especially, that too with Michael Boyle's programs, but just the skill of critical thinking has just gone by the wayside.
It's
and
technology, unfortunately.
It is. And that goes into all the different agendas that are going on right now against the human population.
Well,
but
I think too, like how old are you guys?
24, yep.
So you guys are probably on the lucky side that you were right where phones weren't everything.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
But now the kids, they're everything. They're on them nonstop, and because they're on them nonstop and they grew up on them nonstop, and their parents shoved iPads on them at dinner every time they went out because parenting is so hard, and they it's like, well, the iPads weren't around for thousands of years and people did a pretty decent job.
I think we'll be okay.
Bro, you don't need that thing.
No.
It makes your life easier. I get that, but like, what's that doing to the kid? Like dopamine and all these things, and now they're addicted to it. That's why they have anxiety, because they're not getting that dopamine hit every 3 seconds like they are when you put the iPad and the phone in front of them. Because, sorry, parents, you're too lazy to parent them all the time. Like, I'm sorry, I know that it's hard, but you decided to have kids.
Yeah.
That's why I don't have kids at the moment, because I am not ready to do that yet. I have other things I'm doing. And I know people are going to at me for that, but I don't care.
Right.
I don't care. But that is why I think that kids are losing that critical thinking, because everything is given to them nonstop, given to them, showed to them. It's always right here. It's always right here.
Right.
So now when they have to figure something on the real world, I don't know what to do with my hands.
Yeah, right. Literally,
and you're like,
though.
guys, come on. But like, they don't, not all, but a bunch of them, they literally can't, and it's very scary.
Right, they can't.
It's Idiocracy. If you've never seen that movie, we're kind of living in it, and it's only going to get worse.
I know what you're talking about, but I actually want to stay on the topic of parents right now. But because, for example, like you guys were talking about how we're on like the good end of things, my parents didn't let me actually have a functioning, useful phone until I was about 15 or so, and so that saved me a little bit from most of it. But I actually wanted to go, if you're okay with talking about it, I'm interested because you were talking about how parents, they're the ones going to the coaches and talking to them and whatnot, and how it's kind of that allows a little bit of softness to come in. How did your parents,
they were awesome.
I was going to say, that was going to be my question. Like, how did your parents handle those situations? How did they push you into those uncomfortable situations? That type of stuff.
Pushed me right into it. They never talked to the coach. They never complained about my ice time. They never anything. That
one right there.
My dad's only. We talk about this on my hockey I have 2 podcasts. My hockey think tank podcast. One of the questions we ask every guest is like, what did your parents say into the car? And when you got in the car after a game, what did your parents ask you? What did they say to you? What was that conversation? Now it's a lot of parents like talking at their kid and like this and that. And like my parents, it was like, if I didn't want to talk about it, like we just talked about something else. It wasn't like this crazy, like parents obsessed with their kid's career. It was like, okay, hockey's over. Let's go do this, and if I wanted to talk about it, they would. And with like ice time or my parents, me talking to my coaches or my teachers, it was, well, if you want this, if you want to play better, if you want to be better, you go in and talk to the coach and ask them, what can I do to be better? What can I do in my own time so that I can be better to help the team win? Not, why am I not on the power play? Or parents going in, why is little Johnny not on the power play? Why is little Johnny on the 4th line? No. Jeff, you go in and ask, why am I, or how can I be better? You know, not just like accusatory, like tell me something that I can do so that I'm better, so that I will play more is the end goal. And also my mom was big on this, like go in there with a notebook, write down what they say. Because I teach kids this and I tell them that, and some of them are too shy to bring in the notebook the first time. And they get out and like, I don't even remember what he said, because it's hard. It's a hard thing to go and talk to the coach. Sometimes they're scary. They're an authoritative figure. You want to play well. You want to impress them. All these things. You care about them. They care about you. It's scary. So they come on the meeting and they don't even remember what the coach said. So and also like that shows the kid cares. Writing down with the notebook. If that's a coach and the little 12-year-old, 13-year-old, 16-year-old, 18-year-old. Pro, I don't care who it is, comes in with a notebook and is writing down what you're saying.
Oh, the coach is going to love it.
They're going to love that player. They're going to love that
Absolutely.
kid. They're immediately going to be more invested into that kid's development over, you know, little Johnny, whose dad or mom is always calling him. Right? So, like, I was very lucky that my parents never talked to the coaches and always made me do it. And if I didn't do it, I was the one that suffered. And they didn't try to pick me up. It was like, well, then it's your fault. You don't want to be as good as you could be if you're too scared to talk to coach.
That's what you just said there. It was like, if you want to get better, if you want to win and whatnot, because every human being, I truly believe this, especially like when it comes to men and whatnot. We want to win. We want to be competitive and whatnot. So the fact that they let you go into that naturally, because you want to win. You want to, be the guy on the ice that is scoring all the goals. You want to be winning all the battles on the ice. You don't want to be going out there and
losing.
Losing and hating what you're doing. There's no way.
This like don't compete, don't keep score bullshit drives me insane because people aren't extrapolating what that does 1 year, 5 years, 10 years, 20 years, 40 years down the road to these kids who are going through that. It's like, dude, like, what do you mean? You can still teach development and have a focus on that, but also teach people that winning is important and you want to win and you want to be the best team, individual, everything, and you can still develop within that culture. But like, you don't go out into the real world, work for a company and just be like, oh, well, I tried. Oh, well, you're fired.
You're gone.
You didn't get results. I don't care that you tried. No one cares. You are fired. You know, and it's like, hello, that's where that mindset of everybody gets a trophy. Don't keep score. Don't hurt anybody's feelings. Man, that's not real life.
No, it's not.
It's not real life.
It's not.
And it's damaging these kids for their futures.
Absolutely.
Drives me bananas.
It's the 10-foot and the 10,000-foot view you always talk about. All the time. Like that's because that's a beautiful way to put it. Is the fact that long term, 10 years down the road, this is going to really hurt these kids. And we're kind of seeing that a little bit now already.
100%.
Dude, we are, and unfortunately, I'm only seeing it be worse. You know,
that's my concern too. And we talk to younger gentlemen because of the fact that we have that audience here, but we worry it's too little of them. If that makes sense, like there's not high enough volume sometimes, but
more people. The more people that hear this, and the more people that can critically think about it, and they can 10-foot view, 10,000-foot view, and see where that leads 1 year, 10 years, 40 years, and see that trajectory. The more people will start to like that pendulum's going to swing back. I hope.
Absolutely.
I hope it's going to swing back.
I think so.
I think it's starting to swing back a bit because people have been were in the last, I don't know, decade, maybe a little bit longer, like afraid to hurt people's feelings. People have been afraid to get canceled for things that are like, first of all, canceled. What? Like everybody makes mistakes. Like everybody makes mistakes. I'm not talking about like atrocious, disgusting atrocities, murder, anything like that. But like no human is perfect. Like, come on, man. And nobody who's gotten anywhere hasn't made multiple failures along the way or bonehead mistakes, or whatever. You learn and you get better. Hopefully when you fail, you learn, you get better, you grow, you adapt, you apply. And if you don't allow those failures to happen and you try to prevent them, well, then they're not going to be able to adapt and apply those things that will get them to the next level and the next level and the next level. You'll just stay here. You're never going to elevate, and I'm not a parent. I am a coach of thousands of people. So I'm sure it's very hard as a parent to watch your kid stumble, to watch your kid fall. Your kid falls as they're learning to crawl. You want to pick them up. It's not helping them. Those muscles that they are developing as they're standing up and falling, that eccentric loading, if we're going to be nerdy, like that's making them stronger to then be able to stand up and be able then to start walking. So it's like, you got to let these things happen. And I'm sure as a parent, it's very hard. but like you have to find a way to do it.
Right.
You know?
Well, and
Yes.
because people from our parents' generations like that, that's how they went through it.
Oh yeah.
Because their generation wasn't like what we're experiencing now.
Right.
You know,
they were way tougher.
exactly.
Mentally, physically, all
Yes.
these things.
No,
100%.
100%.
So I want to kind of keep on track, but also move on
Yes.
to the EX gentleman question we have here. So we were talking about like the last 10 years, what's kind of been, perpetrated, so to speak, of like the, no competition, be weak and whatnot. I want to talk about the male side of it. What does being a strong male look like / feel to you? And then also kind of off of that, just, because we always hear the, toxic masculinity. We hear the it's okay to be weak or soft or whatever.
Right.
I want you to touch a little bit on that and what that kind of looks like for you, because honestly, we have a lot of female listeners as well as male listeners who love this segment. So I'd love to hear your view on it.
Well, like, all right, ladies who say that they want that. I don't think any do, but like, okay, you're walking down the street and a mugger has a knife. Well, who do you want next to you?
Go ahead.
Exactly.
Yep.
Somebody who's mentally strong, somebody who's physically strong, somebody who has the nuts to stand in front of you and protect you and be a man, a protector. Like, not saying that they're going to win that fight, but like, do you want to go down swinging? Do you want them to get enough time for you to run away? Like, my mom taught me to walk down the street and I always stand on the on the inside.
Yep.
So if a car comes and it's going to hit us, I can push her away and take the hit.
100%.
Like that is how I live my life,
Yeah.
And that's how my dad lives his life. And it's like, males have a role in just like natural, like nature to be protectors, right? To be the father. Mark on my, Give More, Be More podcast, my co-host on that, he always says like, good man, good father, good husband. Ooh. Like that's what three things he always wants to be, or good man, good partner, good father. Like those three things. He's always striving to be better at those. And I think that those are three important things. And then I always try and reverse engineer any of my goals. All right, what's my goal? And then how do I get there? Like step by step, or like how many steps do I think it'll take? And what do those steps look like? What's that timeline? And maybe you don't know the timeline, but you at least then have things to reach towards. And you can have a step one. A lot of people are afraid to start anything.
Yeah.
Like they're afraid to start because they're afraid to fail. Well, you get better every time you fail.
Right.
I fail all the time.
Yeah.
I put myself in uncomfortable positions all the time.
Yes.
All the time. I sweat through shirts because I'm uncomfortable. I suck at the first time I do it, but guess what? I learn, adapt, apply. I'm better the second time. And then I go through that process and it's cyclical. And then but it's cyclical and it's elevating every single time.
Yep.
And the more that I do that, the faster I elevate to that next level. But for what does a strong male look like to me? I think it's somebody that tries to run their household, and not by saying like iron fist, like I'm going to sit at the dinner table and be like, give me my food, woman.
Bring me my food.
But I do think that traditional male and female roles, I do think that, and this is going deep, man, but I do think that there is a place for that. Like not this, like, hey, and you clean up and you do everything and stay home and don't do anything. I'm not for that. I'm for all for women doing whatever it is they want. But I also think that, if women aren't around to like raise the kids because they're always working, well, who's raising your kids?
Oh.
Yeah.
And then it's not, if you have a nanny all the time and they're the ones always with your kids, it's not your values the kids are learning, it's the nannies.
There you go.
Right.
And are you paying them enough to put your values into them? Like, I don't know. And then like, how is your bond with your kids? And I'm not saying don't have a nanny, but like, it's something that you do need to think about.
Sure.
And so like, if the male can be the breadwinner, not always saying that is possible or whatever, and not saying that the roles can't be changed, but like females do things better than males, and males do things better than females. Like to say that there's no difference is absolutely asinine.
100%.
It's asinine. It's a joke. For people to not call that out is lying to themselves and to everyone around them.
Yes.
Right. And I'm not being chauvinistic. Like this is the truth.
Right.
This is the truth.
Right.
There's an obvious nuance to what you're saying right now.
There's so much nuance.
It's like what because we're talking overall percentages. Most of the time, men will be better at certain things. Women will be better most of the time at other certain things.
Yeah.
100%.
Right.
You look at any personality study too, like women score better at this, and this. Men score better at this. You look at physical traits. Men are going to be able to do this better. most of the time, not all the time, there are exceptions, and women are going to be better than this. I can't breastfeed a child.
Right.
Men cannot breastfeed. That's not a thing.
Right.
Women can, right?
Men can't get pregnant.
Men can't get pregnant. That's not a thing.
That should be so obvious.
Right,
It should be. Yeah.
It is.
Like this is the most obvious conversation.
For some reason, the 99% are bowing down to the less than 1% on some of these things, and this isn't like bigoted. Like this is literally science. Like so, but not even going like that far, but more like just like traditional male stuff. I think that protecting your family, being able to protect your family, trying to provide for them as well as you can, like all these things. I don't know. I think that is traditionally a male's role. And I think that if we look at where our society is now versus 10 years, 20 years, 40 years, 80 years ago, obviously there's been so many technological advancements that have changed some things. And again, I'm not saying women shouldn't work. That's not what I'm saying or anything like that. But if you also look at like people's happiness rates, and obviously that's a subjective test, but if you look at these things and now you look at how many more women are unmarried at certain times, and then you look at that stratified with like the happiness scores and all these things, it's like, well, is women working till they're 40 really what's best for them, for society, for the kids? I don't know, but I mean, I think it's starting to look like,
it's a question to ask.
It is. It's a question to ask.
Yes.
And if you can't at least ask the questions,
Then
any questions, then like, are we even free? And like, how do you get anywhere if no questions are allowed to be asked?
Right.
You can't make anything better if you can't question things. That's the scientific principle.
Sure.
You come up with
Hypothesis.
a hypothesis.
Yeah.
Yep.
You test it. You question it. You dissect it. Could this have been better?
boom.
Right.
Yep.
Right. But if you can't do that, you can't learn how to be better.
Exactly.
So, I know that's a super roundabout answer, but I think that's I don't know. I guess that's how I feel about it.
Yeah. Going back. Oh, go ahead.
Go ahead. Oh, sorry, my man. So when it goes to physical strength as well, I think that's the most obvious one.
Yeah.
Because like obviously there's a big differentiator for the most part,
Right.
almost all parts when it comes to like physical strength with men and women. And then Gina said something on your last podcast with our guest podcast on the Give More, Be More podcast. And she was like, I think there was like a super high percentage of women that 35 and above are not having children anymore. So that's another thing too.
Yeah.
Are we like, what about our population and whatnot?
Well, our testosterone levels, everything's pointing to our testosterone levels are going to be like almost zero in 2040 or 2050, I think it is. Our testosterone, what is that thing everybody's seen?
Oh my
like,
gosh, I know
testosterone levels right now are like the same levels that our grandfathers were at when they were 50 or something for like a mid-20s or something. Like, also, I think that's our food. Our food is embarrassing. I was watching something today that the guy who owned like the biggest cigarette company then bought a large food manufacturer, which then bought a whole bunch of small food manufacturers, turned it into a huge food manufacturer. Maybe it was Nabisco, and like they make all of the processed foods. And then they did, like, think about how prevalent cigarettes were in our society, and how bad they are for everybody. I'm all for people choosing though. But like, you should also have that data out there. Like, are they good? Are they bad? Scientific studies, like real information out there. And then the same thing needs to be looked at our food supply. I played overseas for 6 years. I played in Norway, Italy, Hungary, Japan, Hungary.
That's awesome.
All right. And Norway one more time. I lived in 2 cities in Norway. And I lived the difference in eating their food versus our food.
Oh, that's very interesting.
And this is like it's a kind of a catch-22 because I'm all for like more limited government. I'm for that. But when it comes to like what we're eating, I don't know if it needs to be the government, but like somebody needs to step in and be like, why do we have words with 300 letters in them and that's every ingredient? Like,
Literally.
that's not that what? Like, come on. And plastics and phthalates. If you know what phthalates do to testosterone levels, phthalates are leaching from plastic. Like, that's one of the main reasons why test is dropping is from the phthalates leaching from plastic. So
Mm-hmm.
like think about all of the foods that a lot of people eat.
Right.
There's people who go to work in an office and they bring their food. How much of it is in a plastic or in a wrapper or in this or in that, or the coffee cups we drink out of from Starbucks and this and that. You might as well just buy your fresh coffee from Omen.
There you go.
Oh, there we go. There it is.
Coffee. So good.
You know, it is so
man.
good.
Yeah.
You know, so like that's also got to be talked about too. Anytime there's a problem, you don't just look at like one solution. That's not it. It's always multifactorial. You got to look at all the different angles at what is affecting this one thing.
Yeah.
And so I think that's part of it.
Beautiful.
Yeah. Going back to the first part of your answer to the question, the original question about like standing on the inside of the street and stuff like that. Anytime, and we've talked a lot about this, anytime you're with a girl or your girlfriend or just whatever, and you do that, like it's just I don't know, I don't even think about it. Like that's just where that's
what I
where
do.
I walk.
It's
You
instinct.
know what I
Yeah,
mean?
yeah,
Like that's my spot.
Yeah,
Okay,
I
you'll
tell
be here.
Kylie, I'm like, no,
Yeah.
no, you go there.
Right.
I'm here to protect you.
Yes.
I
And if-
opened the door. I said to her today,
Yes.
she went to open the door, and I said, hey, I opened the door.
Yes.
And she
100%.
always does it because like she's trying to
Yep.
like make us move faster. I'm like, no. Like I
Yeah.
want to do that.
Yes.
I want
Yes.
to provide
Yes.
that for you. That doesn't mean I think you're less than or
No.
that you can't open the door.
Exactly.
I want to treat you the way that
Right.
that I think you should be treated.
You're right. Right.
You know
Like
what
my
I mean?
fiance. Yeah.
It's
100%.
not.
Like
It's
you were
not
going to treat me like my
s-
fiance.
It's not sexist at
No,
all. I'm not
not
saying
at
you
all.
can't open a door. But what's hilarious is that the whole flip side of that to the ultra feminists who are like that. Well, then you go to dinner and they want you to pay.
Yeah, right.
Don't open my door. Don't do this. There's no difference between men and women. Here's the bill.
Here's the bill.
Right.
Oh, wait a minute. I thought we were equal.
I thought we were splitting.
Wait.
Or actually, you can pay for it.
You know, so it's like you can't have your cake and eat it too.
Yes,
There, you know what I
yes.
mean? So that's kind of funny.
Well, and yes, exactly. So continue on there, doing those things, like seeing a girl's reaction to that, and
my
they're like,
gosh.
"Oh, that's so sweet of you." Like, I've never experienced something like that, and it's just like,
that grosses me out.
what the hell?
That somebody's never treated them that
Exactly.
way.
This-
Exactly.
Personal experience on probably over 90% of the dates I've went on. That is a big surprise for most women.
Right.
Over
It's the
90%
same-
of them.
It's the same for me. It's the
That's,
same for
I mean,
me.
that's
Yeah.
horrific.
Like, oh my God, what?
Right.
Oh, yeah.
Like,
Right.
no, this is just normal.
This is
Like,
what
I
I
just
do.
open your car door. I open every door
Correct.
for you. I stand on the right side of the street. Like, this is
Right.
just
We're
normal.
walking out of a restaurant. I walk behind you.
Yeah.
You know, we're walking
100%.
upstairs.
Yep.
I walk one step behind you in case you fall. I can catch you. Like
Yes.
that's how my
Yeah.
brain always works,
Yes.
and
Yep.
that's like that protector animalistic male
Right.
brain that I think we need to like keep in society.
Right.
You know,
And there's also like a sense of pride too when you see their eyes light up or you see them
Hell yeah.
smile when you do little things like that.
Hell
You know,
yeah.
little but meaningful. You
Right.
know, especially to someone who hasn't been treated in that way. The fact that you get to be possibly the first person to do that.
Yeah.
Like that's a
Oh,
that's a
gosh, yeah.
plus for
yeah,
you.
it's,
You
it's
know.
any guys out there listening, like do those things.
Yes.
Make that part of your habits, rituals, and routines. Like treat your woman the way they need to be treated. I mean, I can't say that like, you know, I wasn't single and I wasn't like crazy at times and whatever. And I like gave into societal pressures. But like the more I reflect, and I was talking to some of my college guys last week about this, like all these things that are like pushed on us, like nonstop like sex and like it's cool to get on
yeah.
Porn.
porn and like it's cool to get on like dating apps just to like sleep around and like all these things that are just like throwing your music videos, just butt cheeks everywhere.
Literally.
And it's like, I
Yeah.
remember when I was a kid, and I had this talk with my mom recently where I was like, I remember when I was a kid thinking, oh my God, I can't believe I can't buy a CD with explicit lyrics because I'm not 18. I was like, that's so stupid. Like, they don't trust me to hear a cuss word. But like, now I'm 37 and I'm like, I get that. Like, I hear the year my gym opened, I was training a bunch of young players that year. And I'm like, we're doing a wall sit, you know, and it's more for mental toughness than actual strength or anything. I want them to push through stuff that it's hard.
yeah.
And I do different things to get their mind off it and teach them like how important your mind is over the body and stuff
Sure.
like that. Like, what song do you want to hear? These kids were like 8 or 9. And they're like, Juice WRLD. There's
Wait, whoa.
yeah, and I still hadn't like thought about this stuff, and it wasn't a song that was like really bad. I don't remember which one it was, and I'm playing it, and they're all singing it word for word, and the song was like about like there's like suicide ideation
was
in
gonna
there,
say, yeah,
and there's
that's
talk
Juice
about
WRLD's
drugs.
thing,
Every
yeah.
kid in there, 20 kids, little high pitched voice, 10-year-old, less than 10-year, are singing every word, and I'm like, this is so not right.
Yeah.
This is so not right. And like, I used to think that like, oh, prudes think that. And it's like, dude, no. And I have friends who have kids who are 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and they've had to turn off YouTube on every TV in their house because they've come home and seen their kid watching something completely inappropriate that they're like, how did they even get to this? Like when I left, that YouTube was on like a children's program where it's teaching them math or something, and it's in like a fun way with a dog. And then all of a sudden they're watching like beheading videos, and it's like, how? Like why? And again, like that's that catch-22 of like over-regulation, freedom, but like, man, with kids, like I gotta.
Kids is a different line.
Kids is a different line.
It's tough, man. It's tough.
100%,
Some of the things are being pushed in schools where it's like, why is that being talked about in school? Why? There's that should be talked about in the home. Why is that being talked about in school right now?
Have you seen some of the books? Some of the pictures of the books?
Yeah,
There is like full-blown like sexual positions and stuff like that in them, and for like 10-year-olds.
Right, and I'm not for banning books. I'm completely for freedom of expression and speech. However, kids can't drive.
18. Yeah.
Kids can't vote. Kids can't rent a car till they're 25. You know, they can't buy cigarettes. They can't get a tattoo on their own. But you're going to let them, you know, have a book in the library that's showing these sex acts and how to pick up different people on dating apps and have sex with them? What? No.
No,
no.
Not at all. Not at all.
No, ever. For any reason.
You know, so this is actually a little tip that maybe some parents that are listening can take. But Mitch and I's parents, one thing we did, you mentioning Juice WRLD and music, they literally checked our lyrics on our songs. Mitchell's laughing.
Right.
They checked our lyrics.
But like, look at you guys. Like, you know, I've known you for maybe 2 years. Like, you're a stand-up individual. You love helping people. Like I hold you, both of you guys, in a very high regard. And like, you know, when I was younger, if I would have heard that your mom was doing that, like seriously, I'd have been like, what a nerd.
Your mom's
I'm
weird,
never going to your house. And I literally
Yep.
very distinctively remember my parents were more open-minded. They didn't do that stuff, but unbelievable parents. Like, the best I know.
Yeah, it sounds like it.
But I remember going to one of my friends' house and we were watching. They had never seen the movie Mystery Alaska. You see that movie?
Oh gosh, I've heard of it, but I've never seen it. Yeah,
need to watch.
Okay, I'll watch it.
You'll love it. Unbelievable movie for hockey people. And like, it's a terrible movie, but it's awesome if you like hockey.
Yeah.
Also, nostalgia plays a role in why I think it's good. But I remember telling my friend's family, who was on my AAA hockey team in 8th grade, "Oh, you guys haven't seen Mystery Alaska? Excuse me, let's go to Blockbuster," hilarious, "and let's rent it,
Love it.
on a VHS.
Throwback.
Yeah, on a VHS.
Throwback.
And we did, and there's a sex scene in it. And there's one sex scene and like a couple inappropriate jokes. My friend's mom, one of my best friend's mom, was like, "Oh my God, Jeff, you didn't say this was in this movie." Ran up, held fast forward, and stood in front of the TV during the sex scene. You didn't see nudity or anything in the sex scene, but you did see them talking about it, and like, you know, you could tell they were having sex.
You knew what was
you
happening.
could see it.
Yeah.
And I remember going home and telling my parents, be like, "Oh my God,
so weird.
You know, Andrew's family's so strict that you don't even see anything." And I was like, "That's so weird." And I look back, I'm like, "That's a good mom. That's a freaking good mom." You know, and I'd almost rather it err on the side of caution than the opposite way. Right? So like, I love that your parents did that. They truly cared.
That's
time, energy, and effort.
100%.
You know,
that's parents policing it right there instead of the government.
That's
a key right there. That's why we talk to parents and whatnot, because that is them actually taking care of the problem, so to speak.
Right.
I mean, because they would check the lyrics. They would be like, "Yep, this is in it. You can't listen to this song.
Yeah,
you can't buy a song on iTunes or whatever."
I love that,
etc. And I think 16, 17 is when we started being allowed to do that.
Right.
So I was probably pretty understanding of what was going on at that point in time.
Right. And if you know about the brain and how it develops and how it doesn't fully develop until 23, 25, 27, somewhere around there, you know how harmful alcohol and drugs are to a teenager's brain. And you can argue rites of passage and this and that, but I would more of say like the people who habitually use it as teenagers and stuff, and like, what is that doing to their brain? And like parents who aren't there or you know, allow the habitual use and like all of these things, like, it's like, man, like that's literally messing with their brain, you know? So yeah, again, I'd rather err on the side of caution from the parent's perspective, but I think that what that means is it needs to be taught.
Yes.
It needs to be taught, right?
Yes.
And not just taught. I went on this guy's podcast. You guys would love him. I don't know if you've heard of the Dad Edge.
Yes.
Okay.
I saw you. I've heard of it because of
Unbelievable.
you. Yeah,
he's a great guy. First Form sponsors his podcast.
Awesome.
It's the first podcast they've ever sponsored. And he says the best lessons are caught, not taught. So like kids watching their parents do things. instead of just like me,
That's really
you know,
good.
wagging my finger at you or
Yeah.
a teacher. It's like them seeing the mom and dad exercise, them seeing the mom and dad eat well, them seeing them watch wholesome programs, them not watching TV till the second they fall asleep and having a bedtime routine and positive self-talk and all these things. The
Yeah.
best lessons and the most lasting ones are caught, not taught. And I love that saying.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, beautiful.
Yeah. Larry, what's his last name? I can't remember, but Dad Edge podcast.
Dad Edge, I'm gonna check
it's
that
a
out for
company,
sure.
it's a business. He's blowing it up. It's
Nice.
in St. Louis, so that's even cooler.
Sweet.
Yes.
That might be somebody you should have
Local.
on the podcast. Yeah,
Local.
we love supporting local.
I love
Sounds
it,
like we
love
need
it.
to make it 2 podcasts.
Yeah,
for some sponsors
yeah,
here.
there you go.
Yeah,
Aw,
first
we're
form
team.
athlete here. We
Yeah,
hadn't mentioned
yeah,
that
Yes,
yet.
we did not mention that part.
Jeff's a
Yeah.
first form athlete.
Hey, what up?
Add it to the resume there.
Boom, 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 down the list of the resume. Yeah. Oh my gosh. All right, guys. So final question of the formats here. So something you were actually just talking about today on your story. A little fired up for here. So one thing that I really respected about you is that always, like when it comes to anything, the first time I met you, I remember you're very much so on your principles.
Yeah.
And one of those things was COVID.
Yeah.
And the last 2-3 years now, and how you spoke out against it, even though you know
It was
all
risky.
the bullshit going along with it. It was risky.
It was
apparently,
it was risky to
Right.
talk about.
Oh, yeah,
Like
yeah.
I didn't know how there were so many people in the world like being like, well, I'm not going to go to that guy because he's crazy. Or I'm not going to do this because he doesn't want to wear a mask, or I don't want to do
Right.
this. And you know, I had no idea how it was going to affect my business, taking the stand that I took and actually, you know, like doing the effort to like research, you know, the science, reading the studies, like listening to just not one set of doctors, but all doctors,
Right.
and then diving into all of that stuff because it's a technological era. You can find anything. And I'm not saying I'm a
Anything.
doctor, but like you also, there's so much information out there that people like didn't actually take the time to read. They just listened to somebody who got paid to say, take this
Exactly.
or do this, or masks work. But then like you go on like the CDC's own website and you go through all the studies that have been done on masks for the last 20 years and you learn how they were done and when they were effective and when they weren't effective, which is ineffective almost all the time, why they're used. And in those studies, they sealed the face mask to dummies' faces that had no hair, all this stuff for an N95 mask to work. One of my former bosses used to sell them for 20 years. He used to have to go into hospitals and teach people exactly what you needed to do for them to be effective, or else they were ineffective. You can have no facial hair. You can have no piercings. You have to clean your face before you put them. You have to do all these things for them to have a perfect seal. If there's no perfect seal, everything gets in there.
Yeah.
Right. And then if you know the size of a COVID particle versus what normal, typical mask can filter out, the only thing you're stopping is actual spit on your face. But the particles are getting through them. They do not, they're not, the masks are porous. Like you can find all of this stuff, right? And so it's like, yeah, if I sneeze on you, your face isn't going to be wet because there's some stuff there.
Of course.
But the particles are getting through there. Like
Right.
every study before 2020 says this.
Right.
So all of a sudden now all those were bunk and fake.
Right.
Like, come on,
Right.
people.
Yep.
Right.
What are we doing here?
Right.
You
They
know?
wanted us to like pick and choose the science that we believe.
Exactly.
Trust the science.
And we've got
which one?
We've got Harvard-trained epidemiologists like Martin Kulldorff, who have been saying the entire time, you know, this set of data and this and this and this, and he's canceled off Twitter and deleted off Twitter and
Right.
LinkedIn and Facebook and Instagram. Harvard-trained epidemiologists, but we're going to let Twitter. People who went to communications college
Right.
decide that no, he shouldn't be allowed to say that. And let's not even talk about is he wrong, is he right, was he right or not, which he was right. But let's not even talk about that. How does this person have the power to censor this person?
Exactly.
Like what the fuck?
Yeah, no, seriously.
Oh, sorry.
You're good. No, that's exactly right.
But like critical thinking here,
Yeah.
and then, dude, you want to like really talk about it. All right, they do the studies. If you know anything about how studies are done for any medicine, you have a placebo group where they tell them you're getting this, and you have a non-placebo group. It's called a blinded study. They unblinded the study, I believe, 2 months into it because so many people in the group that was getting the shot were getting COVID, and a bunch of people who got the placebo were getting it as well. So they thought it was safer to tell everyone, okay, you guys got it, you guys didn't get it. So you guys who didn't get the vaccine, if you now want to switch to this group to get the vaccine, you can. a bunch of them switched because they were scared. So now that study
Interesting.
becomes null and
it's
void
100%.
because
Yep.
you didn't carry out the study completely to find out the
Blinded.
fucking results.
Yes.
That happened. You can read about that. That happened, and they based decisions off of that.
Yep.
Like, what?
I didn't know that.
You didn't know that,
honestly.
right? Because it
No.
was censored information. I mean,
Right.
it was out there, but like if you talked about, like, dude, all of these things happen,
Yeah.
and you could read about them, and I was screaming them from a mountaintop.
Yeah.
But if you just want to talk about like a base level, like thinking, critical thinking, why would you ever put anything? And I'm not saying like there are populations that I think maybe the vaccine makes sense for. Maybe if you were 70 or over, maybe I would have taken it. Maybe, right? If I was obese, maybe, I don't know. I mean, I wouldn't have. I would also
Right.
wouldn't be obese.
It's because you know the facts, too.
Right,
Yeah, yeah.
right.
Right.
But like, let's say there are some populations where maybe it did make sense for them. Then maybe there are, and there are doctors that say yes, it would make sense for them. Okay, but that's not the vast majority of the
Right.
population. But let's take those people out of it. Everybody who's healthy, everybody who's no comorbidities, whatever. All right, you've got a new product that has never been made before. Yes, okay, you can say, okay, mRNA has been around for a little while, but this was slightly different anyways. But okay, it's a new drug, it's a new vaccine, it's a new mode of therapy that has never been used on humans before. Okay, there's no efficacy studies, short or long term. They did the study, but they unblinded it, so it's not a true study.
Right.
It was only 3 months, but they cut it off like maybe 2.5, 3. So there's no long term efficacy. And there's definitely 100% no long-term safety data.
Right. Correct.
Zero. This vaccine has never been around before.
Right.
Ever.
Right.
Ever. They cannot say, oh, it's 6 months, this many people had side effects, this many people didn't. They can't say in a year, this many people did it, because it's never been around.
Right.
So you're so by keeping like all this information out of people's hands and not telling them the truth and you know, telling half truths, I guess, is probably a lot of it. And not having people like go through that line of thinking, wait, we have no idea what this is going to do in 6
Right.
months, a year, 10 years. We have no idea. We still don't know 5 years what these things are going to do, right? So then it's like, well, wait, does that make, I'm a guinea pig then. Do I
Right.
want to take this?
Yep.
Right.
If everybody was given all the information and then it was up to them to choose, totally fine.
All day.
Fair game.
All
Sure.
day.
Do
Sure.
whatever you want. But
Yes.
anybody who says that they didn't have some sort of manipulation is lying to themselves.
Right.
You were slightly coerced. You were slightly manipulated on something that was new, which is against the Nuremberg Code. It's that thing
Correct.
was created for a reason, and I just don't think that that's okay. And legal precedents also matter. So
Right.
people allowing the military to have something brand new that has no long-term efficacy, no long-term safety data, allowing that to be mandated for our military. Not to allow military veterans go to the VA and be treated because they didn't take this thing.
Right.
What?
Oh
Right.
my
What?
God.
There's
Right.
no long-term safety
Yep.
data.
Right.
What do you mean you're going to mandate for their treatment who served our
Exactly.
country, put their life on the line?
Right.
100%.
Fuck you.
Yeah.
No, seriously.
You know?
Yeah.
Right.
That's not okay. Again,
Right.
if there was choice and everything was put out there, we don't know what's going to happen. Bill Gates said it on an interview. He slipped up. They said, like, how are we going to tell people to do this?
We love Bill
and he,
here.
Yeah. And he said, well, we're going to have to wait 2 years. When they said, like, how are you going to know if it's safe, whatever? He's like, well, if you want long-term safety data, we'll just have to wait 2 years. And he like joked. And it was like, yeah, that's the point, dumbass. Like,
Right.
yeah, we know
No
that.
shit.
We know you know
Right.
that. But,
Right.
but you know, so like, this is a very, it was an illusion of choice, and I'm not okay with that.
Right.
And then the NBC News study.
Oh, yeah, and then that just
Which
comes out.
we
but,
knew
like,
that
which
already.
We knew that,
We already
man.
knew that.
Like,
And
there was
what
so
did they
many-
say? Was it like equal to
Equal,
vaccine?
the protection.
Which to me means better.
Right, the protection of natural immunity this came out of metadata from the Lancet Journal of Medicine, the metadata from a whole bunch of different studies. They found that natural immunity was equal to or better than 2 shots. But like, let's go back to the beginning of the whole thing where they said, and they could now, people forgot, like, it's the mind in today's world. It's like 3-day news cycles. They forget
Sure.
what happened. I was, talking to this guy on Twitter today about this stuff. And, cause obviously I tweeted out that NBC thing. And so obviously some people are coming at me. They're sheep.
Sheep. You heard what he said.
If the beginning, there was no such thing as a booster. It was yeah, you take one shot, you're good. You can't get it, you can't give it. Well, then, they retracted that.
Right.
And we know what's happened since then, if you remember.
Right.
There's still people taking them. But in the beginning, it was just, you're going to take one and you're done. And then it was, it fades at 6 months. It's 4 months.
Destroys
it's
your
3
immune system
months.
at 6 months.
It might be 2 months where you need to get it every couple months, depending on who you are, comorbidities. So right there, the efficacy has been thrown out the window.
Exactly.
You said 1. Well, now it's 2.
Yep.
Well, now it's every whatever it is months,
Right.
and now it's the rest of your life. Wait a minute. So like, if I know that now you were either lying or misinformed about the efficacy, how can I believe anything else you said?
Right.
So for the people that haven't deduced that, haven't like broken that down and been like, people need to be honest with themselves. And it's okay if you have buyer's remorse. I would. It's okay. Like, it doesn't mean just because you got it, you're going to die. Like, hopefully you're going to be okay. It's just like,
we don't know.
But we don't know. But if you did take them and stuff, be proactive. Go and get a D-dimer test, right? That tells you, I can't remember what that tells you, the levels of something that if they're like super high, you have a higher risk of blank. It's been a minute since I've been like really diving into, and I had like notes and like I had, all this stuff that I had 2 years ago when I was going through this, and making decisions for my business and, my whole family.
Sure.
My whole family doesn't feel the way I do. So this was like this. So that was another reason I was so invested in this. I wanted to fucking protect my family, my whole family. I have a very big family. My whole family, except for me and my fiance. So like, I was also like, I was only working online because like people weren't coming in right away. So I was doing so much like digging and calling doctors and talking to people and not just getting this opinion, getting multiple opinions and then looking at all of that. And I'm not a doctor. I know people are out there, he's not a doctor, what does he know? But like, I got a brain,
right.
I was going to say in exercise science, also those classes, plenty of them taught us how to actually read studies.
Yeah. And if you learn about the body, you know that a healthier body also equals higher immunity in almost everyone. You know that vitamin D plays a role in your immunity. It was said very early on. I don't remember how many months into it, but like super early on, there was this one doctor, I believe he was out in Utah, who was like screaming at the top of his lungs, I'm seeing the patients dying and the patients dealing with long COVID are every one of them deficient in vitamin D. Dude, I was taking like 10,000 IUs of vitamin D every single day.
Yeah.
Man, and the people who had higher vitamin D weren't even getting it, for the most part. But that stuff was then is debunked and it was is censored and they're kicked off this and that for saying that and they're a quack and then losing their medical license.
Yeah.
Dude, like there was some real shady shit going on that people don't even know happened with doctors. And man, is that not okay?
Robert Malone was another one.
Bro,
and Peter McCullough was the cardiologist.
Peter McCullough's the man, dude. He came up with the McCullough protocol, and it was a preventative thing. In India, I believe it was India, what they were doing was they were, and Singapore maybe is one of the places that didn't have like almost any COVID. They were doing nasal spray, a certain nasal spray, like a wash in through it because COVID stayed in the nose for like a longer period of time. And that's why it was like they said 10 days and then it wasn't really 10 days. It was whatever because it could stay in your nose. But what they found, and I wish I would have studied up before I came because it's been a year and a half, 2 years since I was like really looking at all of this stuff.
All about it,
But like this, I think it was Singapore. If they did this flush through their nose and they gargled with something and maybe one more thing, there was like zero COVID, like zero, like literally zero.
Interesting.
Right?
In people that had it or just to prevent it?
No one was getting it, preventing it. So like you went out in the world, no mask, you did whatever, you came home, you did this thing. This wasn't the McCullough protocol. This was something else, but he had talked about if you do this in, I believe it was Singapore, maybe I'm wrong, somewhere over there, that there was like literally zero COVID.
Gotcha.
They didn't want the vaccines. They didn't want anything because they didn't have it because they were doing this thing, and then you look at Uttar Pradesh, India, and what they were doing there with their packets they were giving out, and there was ivermectin and hydroxychloroquine. My fiance took ivermectin when she got it, and she was better in like 28, 30 hours.
Awesome.
There's only one doctor in St. Louis who could prescribe it, Dr. Molly James. She wouldn't mind me saying that. She's a fucking badass. Sorry, but she's one of the only doctors in St. Louis, and she told my fiance exactly what pharmacy. There's only 1 or 2 pharmacies in St. Louis that would prescribe it, that would actually give it to you during that time. Yeah, man. And she was better almost immediately. She was sick for like 3 weeks. She took that. Like no sign of hope, feeling terrible. She took that 30 hours, boom, gone, completely fine.
It was like what Joe Rogan talked about too. Both of those, you know,
and then
same
you
thing.
talk about Joe Rogan.
It's horse to warmer. Yeah.
I mean, even that, but like even before that, you look at the video Joe Rogan took, and there's people out there who hate Joe Rogan, think this about him. Well, your eyes aren't open, but you're an idiot. But he only asks questions, and he has people on from the left, the right, the middle, the top, the bottom, black, white, Asian, purple, gay, straight. He has everybody on. He just has conversations. So if you don't like conversation, you're the bigot. But his video outside talking about using ivermectin and how he felt better immediately, and it was so awesome. You have his video, and then the next day when they put it up all over mainstream media, they tinted the video to make it look greenish yellow to be more sick.
Yeah.
You put those videos up, like that is manipulation.
It was undisputable too.
That is undisputable manipulation. That is not an accident, right? Like my fiance is a professional social media influencer. Like she's like, you don't understand. And she's done tons of like photo shoots and videos with like massive companies and all these things. Like it doesn't just, it's not like somebody shoots it and they put it on TV.
Right.
It's going through editing. It's going through this, that. And at that time, it's going through like some big people to make sure that it's okay to put on. That video was manipulated. So if that video was manipulated, what else was manipulated?
Exactly.
And this isn't a conspiracy theory. This is just breaking down objective things that happen and looking at them for what they are. And if you can't do that, you're not being honest with yourself.
Right.
In anything in life.
Anything. I was
you
literally
probably
about to say
also
that.
lie to yourself about your effort every day, about, you know, your anything, you know? So it's like poor self-reflection in my opinion.
Yeah. No, dude, that was great. That was great. We've only got a few minutes left with you, so we'll skip over our Q&A for today, which is fine because we just had a freaking great conversation with you.
Yeah.
No, dude, no. Are you kidding me? This was fantastic.
And I'm not passionate about COVID because I want to say I told you so. I'm passionate about COVID because I care about my family. I care about my health. I care about my family's health. I care about all of my clients' health. All of my clients were forced to get this. All of them. Almost all of them. Almost every single one of them. One of my guys ended up in the hospital immediately after. One of my guys ended up in the hospital less than a week later after taking it with some bad stuff. One of my mentors probably had a stroke. Doesn't really want to talk about it, but while he was driving, I know so many people. So many people, man. And that's me alone. You know, and then I've had so many people on social media reach out to me anytime I talk about it. Today, I put that thing up. I had no less than 10 people tell me about family members who have myocarditis now. Never had any problems with their heart. Never had this or that, you know. Like, so it's like, come on, guys. Let's connect the dots.
Right. And it just, like you said, it just comes from a place of caring. You know, and not wanting our country or our world, for that matter, to be manipulated again. You know, dude. Because if it worked once, what are they going to try next time? You know? And that's the scariest part, I think,
is,
too,
man.
You know?
It is. It is. And if nobody said anything, where would we be right now? If there wasn't any Andy Frizellos in the world to give us all strength through that time, like seriously, I look up to that motherfucker so much for what he did during that time. So
and still continues
and
to
continue.
Ian Smith's another one.
Ian
like
Smith.
at the
When I met him,
gym,
I'm an emotional guy. I don't like cry a lot at all. But when I met him, I started tearing up. Ian Smith,
awesome.
Because I was like, dude, you gave me the strength with what you did to keep my gym open. Literally, I don't know what I would have done. I had to invest all of my money at the time. All of my money in the bank to keep my gym open because I had to have people 6 feet apart. I had to buy $30-something thousand worth just of equipment to keep everybody separate. You know, and that's money that at the time, just coming out of retiring from playing, I just bought a house. I just built a house. I was going through a divorce. All this stuff going on. I just went from like one steady career where I'm guaranteed this amount of money every year to like kind of the unknown. And I put all of my money in my bank account to keep my gym open. So when I met Ian Smith, I was like, dude, you allowed me to keep it open. Joe, who owns House of Pain. Dude, I fucking cried when I met him too. I was like, dude, thank you. Because I think it was like, I heard like he paid like $75,000 or something to fight that and keep it open when everybody said he shouldn't and the news is chirping him. He put his face on the news. His name, his face, and he said, I'm staying open. Dude, what if he didn't do that?
I know.
Well, and then the mental health of all the people who exercise helps with mental health. It helps
Right.
with it helps with your immune system. So all these
Everything.
things, like everything, and all the people then who didn't get that. Isolation is one of the biggest causes of suicide.
Yep.
So like, what would that have done if people didn't have the gym? Just from like that standpoint,
Right.
There's so many reasons why people like Joe and Andy and Ian, dude, they need to like
Yourself.
I mean,
Don't
at a
even.
smaller scale,
But
but like
yeah.
you know, if we didn't have people like that. I really am like, man, what would have happened?
Yeah,
What would have
right.
happened?
Yeah.
You know?
Definitely
So-
proud to be down at House of Pain right now. For
Yeah.
sure.
I was
For
gonna
sure.
say,
I
yeah.
walked right up and I was like, I'm here. I didn't even go to House of Pain for like a year and I had a membership there. And I said, I have a membership here because of what you did.
Yes.
Yeah.
You know?
100%.
Right.
I did it. Me and Dr. Tony did a free seminar for him. And I was like, every time I tell him, I'm like, this is what you did.
Right.
This is what you did.
Yeah.
You know, I want to help you in any way I can because of what you did. And you didn't even know me. You didn't
Yeah.
even know what you were doing for me personally.
Right.
You
right.
know?
I was
So-
gonna say that I worked out there right during that time when they were not supposed to be open and
Yeah.
whatnot. And
Yeah.
they were like, nope,
Yeah.
we're staying open.
Right.
I show up
man.
at 5, 6 a.m. in the morning and then,
Yeah.
yep,
Yeah.
we're open. And I'm
Yeah.
like, beautiful.
Amazing.
This is what I'm talking
dude.
about right here.
Absolutely amazing.
Yeah.
Amazing.
Well, guys, we were very, very excited to finally get you on, Jeff, and we appreciate you being here with us. Former professional hockey player, current first form athlete, current strength coach, badass, current, dominating social media with all the things we just talked about. And, we're really, really proud to call you a friend.
Yeah.
We're really excited
Yes.
to
Yeah.
see where you go with your business. You're getting married here soon, which is very, very
Yeah.
exciting. Ladies, check out his fiance. She's awesome.
She is awesome.
yeah.
Fit by Kiki. on the
And
gram.
also host of 2 big-time podcasts.
I was going to say, shout all
Yeah.
that stuff out,
Yes.
Jeff.
Yes.
Instagram, podcast, where they can
Yes.
reach you. Yeah.
Thanks, guys. My Instagram's just my name, at Jeff LoVecchio. My goal with that is to educate and inspire every day, try and teach people the things that I've learned that have allowed me to have the career I had in hockey when I kind of skated like Happy Gilmore. I wasn't that good. The way I trained allowed me to have the career I did, and then the way that I train my guys now is always evolving and helping them. And I have online training for hockey players. I have my own personal training team that Jacob said that he does. It's called the Trail Me. I'm going to change it to Give More, Be More program
Oh,
here in the next
beautiful.
week or so.
Beautiful.
Yeah, it just
Yeah.
makes
Yeah.
sense.
Yep.
The clothing line called Give More, Be More, but it's all through my Instagram. You can find everything at Jeff LoVecchio. And hockey podcast called the Hockey Think Tank Podcast. It's got well over 1 million downloads. And then my new podcast is called Not a Big Deal. My new podcast.
I was waiting for it. Let's go.
My new podcast is called the Give More, Be More podcast with Mark Anthony Joe, who is an unbelievably inspirational human being. He's the owner of Omen Coffee. And I honestly think that podcast is going to be way bigger than the Hockey Think Tank. That, like I said, has 1 million downloads. It's the feedback on there has been insane. It's been awesome to hear how we help people every week. So check out anything. If anybody has any questions about training, life, mindset, nutrition, entrepreneurship, whatever, reach out to me. I can't answer every DM anymore because I work a lot, but I literally do try. I answer almost all of them.
You do.
Yes.
And if
Yeah.
you don't, and if I
yeah.
don't
Oh,
answer you,
yeah.
if I don't answer you, write me back again because like I do miss some. They get pushed way down.
Yes.
I get over 100 a day that I try to answer,
Yeah.
and then I got Twitter, and then emails, and then my own clients, and then thousands of online. So it is hard, but I literally take pride in trying to answer everyone. So please don't be afraid to reach out, help any way I can, and thank you guys for A, what you're doing, B, what you stand for, and C, for having me on.
We appreciate
yeah,
you,
bro.
Jeff. We'll
Awesome,
definitely have
dude.
you back for sure.
Awesome. Yeah.
Definitely have you back. Guys, thank you for joining us for season 2, episode 29. That is Mr. Jeff LoVecchio. Until next time, peace and love.
Thanks, guys.